Hey guys, welcome to Currently Cringing. And you, along with my husband, everyone's like, what's going on with the pod? Are you just gonna put all this work in and like throw it away? No, just turning 40 has done a number on me, and I'll get into that on a solo pod. And Ditz and my husband both know all about that. I've just been keeping to myself, spiraling about being 40 and not knowing what's next. And that's normal, and that's okay. But I wanted to give you all a recap on Aditya for a lot of new listeners. We had the most listeners we've ever had in our last podcast, which was the election pod. We are not sponsored by Coca-Cola, but if you're watching this, that's the drink of choice here. Regular Coke,
Regular Coke, 90 calorie mini cans, so not the end of the world on a
but
Monday.
mini cans. And if Coca-Cola is watching or listening, we're here. So anywho, I wanted to talk about your dating background. When we started this podcast, I started it as a solo podcast in 2020. You and I had a pivotal moment, and that episode is called Dating and Getting Wrecked in NYC, where we both realized, like, okay, we're not being nice anymore, but there's a difference between being nice and kind. We're kind.
I keep telling that to people I'm dating or even friends where it's like, oh, he's such a nice guy. I'm looking for a nice guy. I'm like, don't say that. Say you're looking for a kind guy or a genuine guy or a sweet guy. We know that the nice guy goes nowhere, right? There's because your husband is a great example of a kind man, but he's not a nice guy, right?
No.
He's wrecked you, right? Or once upon a time.
Like, I am someone, I know my personality. Some people need people who are their match.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to both match each other, respect each other, and be good and kind to each other. That's kind of where it all starts.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth because I need someone who will lead and I'm very strong. So I met my match. But when you were growing up, we were like not really the hot people in our class, like in elementary school, in high school, like no one was looking to really date the Indian
At
kid.
most, we were like cute with potential. And
Yeah.
this is the potential, what you see today.
And we were like the fun friend or,
Yep.
the friend that was like the buffer, but we were never the one you wanted to date.
No, it's like people wanted to date my female friends or other friends, and like I was the conduit, right? Like, and even so, like I've set a lot of people up for marriage, whatever. And that even started all the way back in high school, college. And I think only in our 30s, maybe late 20s into the 30s is where like we started being desired a lot more.
I love that word desired because I don't think I was desired till 30 and over.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. For me, it was like, yeah, late 20s. And then I think for guys, especially like after 35, for me, like COVID was like post COVID is where I really thrived, I think,
And what
with
was
the New York
college?
dating scene.
What was college like?
College, it was not much. It was like, a few random makeouts here and there at parties. And I also like didn't really have confidence back then, right? Like a lot of young men, Gen Z men, don't know how to approach women. And it's a continuation of millennials in college, I think, but even worse. Because at least back then I would approach girls and I would just get friend zoned. Whereas now, guys who are Gen Z or whatever younger, they're not even approaching women. They're not getting rejected. They're just not approaching. They're they
They're
have
not
no
even
experience.
leaving the house.
Yeah, and they don't really even know. So I think my advice for those guys is just connect with women, talk with them, and don't care about the result. And like maybe you make a friend, maybe that female friend sets you up with someone down the road. But I think once you get older, you get more confidence, you get more experience. The rejections suck, but they're great because you just build on it, and then eventually you become numb, and it's just like, oh, someone rejected me, big deal. On to the next, right?
For sure. When was your first relationship? Real relationship?
Let's think. Yeah, I'd say when I was like 27, well, I guess it depends. I was set up with someone when I was like 26, like the Indian setup. I was living in Hong Kong, she lived in India, and we did a long distance relationship. We met once a month for a weekend for a year. And that was like fine for me at the time. Didn't work out, obviously, because that's like not, you need to be in each other's space. There needs to be, she was very traditional, this girl, so there wasn't like any like that much physical. So I think that was something that just didn't work out. And ultimately, she didn't want to leave India, and that didn't work out. I moved back to New York, and I met someone, this really nice Jewish girl, and we dated for 2 years. And then she actually got married like a year ago, and or like less than a year ago, and I wished her, I was really happy for her. She, she was Jewish, she wanted someone Jewish, and she ended up with someone more her speed, and like I couldn't be happier for her. So that was probably my first relationship, was like my late 20s.
And then once you were back in the city from Hong Kong,
Yeah. After that, I spent a year working in New York. We dated, and then I dated her my first year of business school. We broke up over the summer. And then my second year of business school is where I was just like no interest in a relationship. I was just focused on travel, finding a job, partying, friends, very like this dating was just like a side quest. It wasn't really important at all.
and then from there, I feel like you've had a slew of important relationships. Each person has been pivotal.
Yeah, I'd say like I dated someone right before, like right after I finished grad school. I was like 31. We dated for 3, 4 months, and it was like a really toxic. And I'm not going to blame her. It was just the wrong fit, and it was just like neither of us was making each other happy, and like we tried very hard, and she was kind of hurtful in the way she handled a lot of things, and I'm sure she was a little bit immature, and that put me in kind of like a tailspin. And then in 2019. I kind of just went nuts on the dating apps, and I was dating like 5 girls a week, and I got it really out of my system. And then 2020 was COVID. And from 2020 through 2024, I'd say I averaged 2 to 3 like mini relationships per year. Um, like in 2020, I dated, 2 girls each for like 3 months. And those were just kind of like relationships of convenience, situationships, because it was COVID. It was a weird time. It was just someone to hang out with. And then the first pod I recorded with you was about that girl who was kind of a Ponzi schemer, had really no interest in anything but dating, finding a wealthy guy, dating him for his assets, etc. And then I had a very meaningful relationship with someone for 3, 4 months, which we kind of extended off and on for a year. Her brother and I are good friends. We were family friends, and it really should have worked out, and it didn't. It's just the wrong fit.
And I think that was really tough for you. And I've been there where everything's great on paper, but it's just not the right time. And sometimes timing is everything, and that's hard to get over.
Yeah, it took me a while, and I basically said, I think I lost the love of my life, and I'm probably just gonna date and not take it seriously. And that once you have that, it kind of like breaks you. And I was like, let me go back to the drawing board. And what's funny is when we broke up, you did like my astrology charts and everything, and you're like, I think in 2021, you said you're not going to get married till 2026 or 27. I was like, what are you talking about? I met this girl, family friend, we broke up, maybe we get back together, maybe there's someone else. And like 26, 27 is so far away. And now it's like tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, and we were talking about that the other day. They have this group, we have a very active group chat, and I'm always predicting nonsense. And
Mhm.
I've been very wrong about two things. Kamala Harris
Oh,
leaving, and then our perennially single friend Neil and KP.
no, no. He's not a perennial single friend. He's a perennially in a relationship friend who won't tell people he's in a relationship until you ask him questions.
Right. So he's actually always in monogamous relationships, but doesn't get married. And we're talking long term. These aren't like month long, 2 month long relationships. Like
Yeah,
he
this
just
isn't
always
I'm the king of the fling, 3, 4 months
king of the fling.
in and out. And just to be clear, sometimes I get dumped, sometimes I dumped. I think it's like probably like 75% of the time I get dumped. Maybe there's a mutual in there. But no, go ahead, what you were saying.
No, it's true. And our friend is in these long monogamous relationships that last years, but he never gets married. And I said, he was going to get married in 2022, but if he didn't at that year, then it would be a while. And for you, I said 2026 for the charts, and you were
Hmm.
like, what the hell? And now we're here in 2025. And I don't know where the time went, but now you are 38.
Please don't round up. I'm 37. I turned 38 in May.
38 in May. You are the age now that I was at then.
Right.
Panic.
Crazy.
And we have this joke, it wasn't a joke because you were mean, where Ditz was seeing this girl who we now call Ponzi, who was after his money. And he was rubbing it in my face like, you're next.
But I
So,
want, okay, that's how you interpreted it. I was trying to be motivational, where I said, if I'm with this girl and like I thought I was gonna get engaged to her, and I was like, you're next. It was like meant to be motivational. But I think you took it the wrong way.
yes, because I was 37 and I had been single for 5 years, was not
Okay.
meeting anyone and was panicking in the pandemic. And imagine how time flew. Where I was then, age-wise, is your age now. Isn't that insane?
Crazy. It's so crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, what's funny now is that people text you all the time saying you're next. I was the first.
You were the first. And I think from there, you've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And now we had this discussion. For so long, you were waiting to buy this grand apartment that you want to basically spend your life in for, you and this special person. But
Mhm.
I'm so proud of you because now you've made the big step of just buying this place anyway.
Yeah, we first recorded a pod in my home I lived there for 6 years. It was a really nice one bedroom in Midtown South. And it's great. It was really great for me at the time. I was 31 and I lived there for 6 years. But and once you live somewhere for a while, you don't really want to leave, you don't want to move. And then I kind of took the leap and found a really nice two-bedroom. It's more of a home. It's much more of a home. The other place was very much like my mom would call it, like a crash pad, college dorm type thing. And now my home is very like open windows, welcoming, different energy, different vibe. And yeah, the goal was always to like date someone first, move in. But now I'm just like a single guy moving in there, and then we'll see where the chips fall. But I don't want to have to wait for someone to start my life, right? That's kind of the theme.
And we were saying that let's start the new year just doing the things we want, regardless of waiting for the right things to fall in place. And you hear it all the time, but buying a place is a big step. And so I'm really proud of you for doing that because we've also said doing the same thing over and over is just going to create the same
Yeah.
outcome. So why not switch it up a bit? So if you're listening and you're just stuck in the same rut and you don't know why nothing's working out, maybe move to another city. If you're somewhere and it's been 5 years, 6 years, you're not meeting anyone, leave. Like you have to switch it up.
I remember I dated someone last year for 6 months, and a lot of our conversations towards the end where she was like, "Oh, you're thinking about moving," and she was like helping me look at apartments, and then we broke up. Like she broke up with me, and then I kind of just stopped that whole process because I was like, "Well, what's the point? I'm single, blah blah blah," and then I decided sometime last year, towards the end of the year, like to start looking. And then it was also like, should I sell my place first? And obviously, everyone has different financial situations. Do I sell first? Do I buy first? And then all I heard was it's such a buyer's market in New York right now. And then so I said, okay, let me buy this now. And then I'm renting my old place out to someone. And when the market changes and becomes a seller's market, I can sell that. So a lot of moving parts, a lot. It's been, yeah, definitely been a crazy month for me.
Well, congratulations. What was the last year like?
Yeah. So I'd say last summer was well, I guess I had mentioned to you guys that I got dumped by someone on Easter for the second year in a row. And after that, I think it was really good of me to take a bunch of little breaks. So like April and May, I had like a very strategic break I took. And what's funny is during my breaks, I'm always like still like casually like I'll go on the apps, like but like I didn't like emotionally put myself out there. Like I met this one girl where we like kind of went out 5 or 6 times, and then we ended up becoming friends, like super really super nice girl, um, Jewish girl. I love my Jewish people. And she is now dating someone. I like reached out to her on Instagram and she's like, "Oh my God, you were like the most normal person I met on Hinge. Like, I hope everything's well." Then I dated someone over the summer in San Francisco. So I tried my second long distance thing. I previously last spring tried dating someone in Atlanta. Um, so San Francisco, like I met her in New York. She's like, "Oh, I'm only here X number of days of the year, but San Francisco is my home." So I knew that, and I was like, "Okay, let me give it a chance." So I did some work on the West Coast. I stopped off in San Francisco. We hung out, and we did like a little back and forth. And then she came and spent a bunch of time in Long Island at her mom's place. So ultimately, like that relationship didn't work out. I have a history of going on trips with women and that being the end of the relationship. And this ended on a trip to the Hamptons where I got the ick. Normally, girls get the ick with me. I got the ick with the girl. And so it happened.
And you were so torn about this because we've said like kind versus nice, like you're kind.
Mm,
And we struggle, as we've discussed before, being the people that have to dump. We just can't, like we've said, we'd rather be cheated on than cheat. We'd never cheat. So it's like
yeah,
your stomach was in knots all week because you knew you had to do this.
it was bad. It was, but also I wasn't happy. Like I feel like we had very different expectations from the relationship. Like for example, um, I think she wanted to very quickly like have an engagement and like talk about moving in together and all this stuff, but she wouldn't even, for the longest time, allow me and her to like sleep over together. This wasn't even about sex, it was about intimacy. I was like, you won't let me stay over just like a platonic sleepover, but you're talking about us getting engaged. Like for me, if you're going to take things slow, you have to then take everything slow. You can't pick and choose. That's what annoys me, right? Like, again, I don't want to be canceled. This seems very fair. So either you're going slow, and if you're going slow, you're going slow at all the facets. You can't just say, well, we're going to go slow physically, but we're going to go fast in an engagement. That doesn't work for me. And I feel like it doesn't work for most people.
I think she had a lot of old school values, and that's okay. She wasn't for you. Like she wanted to maybe get engaged and find really a husband on paper, but you're looking for a
But
relationship.
I'm also looking for compatibility,
A
and
friend also.
you have said it on the pod. You think that living with someone's very important, and she said she would never live with someone unless after. So I said, okay, what? Okay, fine. Knowing, would you live with someone before an engagement? No. Okay. Would you live with someone between the engagement and marriage? She said no. So I said that's insane, right? Then I said, what about legal marriage at the courthouse? She says no. It had to be like a Hindu priest and all this stuff. And that for me was just another thing that wouldn't work. And then also, I thought I was like very over the top in the things I did for her. Like I'd pick her up from the train station, drop her at the train station. I'd always, call cabs for her. And like, this is not stuff I usually do, but I could tell that, it was important to her. Um, Again, like I usually pay for the majority of dates with, when I go on dates with people. And pretty like nice dinners, drinks, things like that. But she like wouldn't even offer to pay. She wouldn't like pay for a cab. She wouldn't pay for bagels, little a coffee, right? And it's not about paying, it's about the offer. It's
A
about
gesture.
like, yeah, and like I'll cover who I'm seeing now. I've seen the difference in what like a guy and a girl do in a relationship. Like the guy should pay for most things. The girl should offer X amount of the time, or once in a while be like, you know what? I'm gonna get the lunch today. Like that's just it makes you feel good. It makes you feel nice.
Absolutely. And I think there's this misconception where I've said this too, even about myself. Like, you want an old school man who's going to pay for every single thing in 2025, then you're going to have old school values. I know people
Yeah.
in those relationships, and you say you want a modern man, well, then this is also part of it. So I don't think there's like a deep discussion on this without getting canceled. Like we're gonna get yelled at today by someone or the other because
But we
we're gonna
shouldn't though.
claim that you don't want to pay for women and that's not true. And
That's literally never what I said. I don't think I've split on a first date ever. First 3 to 5 dates, guys should pay, right? And if you do split, just probably means you're not into it. But if you want to keep seeing the person, guys should pay. The girl should always offer. I think it's like, at least make an attempt. Versus like it's not your birthright, I think, to get stuff for free. At least just be kind, be nice. I didn't really find that. I found her a little entitled. So all these things led to the ick. And also, with all that said, we still went away finally for the weekend to the Hamptons. This was in August. And I realized we'd only really hung out like at the bars, tipsy, drunk, whatever. We did like day-to-day stuff, and I was just so bored. And I was just like, I really got the ick. And I I almost want to apologize to the girls that I dated before who got the ick with me. And I'm like, I can't believe this person got the ick with me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I get it. It happens. It can be like that.
yeah, you get the ick now.
Yeah. So men can get the ick too. That's the little takeaway from that story.
Yeah, and I also remember seeing this email, and this was after the fact, and you had planned all these options for her on how to get to the Hamptons. And her
Yes.
answer was a one-word reply, and that was really it.
Yeah, wow. You're remembering this better than I do. I was very annoyed. I did probably an hour or two of research and I said, I'm paying for this whole weekend. Here are all the options. Like, here are all the houses, here are all the cities. If you don't want the Hamptons, there's Hudson, upstate New York, blah, blah, blah. And she gave a one-word response. I wouldn't respond to assistant or secretary like that. I'd be like, hey, I like this option. Thanks for the work. Hey,
Exactly.
that's the bare minimum. So that is also what put me over the edge. And I said, you know what? I'm probably not going to last this weekend, but I've already paid for everything. So I thought that was like kind of rude.
I remember, people, not people, I'm going to say my friends, who are still my very good friends, and you know these friends well. When I first met my now husband, Serge, he didn't have much. He didn't have anything. And so, me being me, I knew that this man is a great person and he doesn't have much right now, but I still want to do things together. And so, it's like I always said in the beginning, like I was Aladdin. Like I've seen the world. I've done so much. And Serge had spent the past 14 years of his life literally studying. And so
Yeah.
I was paying for a lot of the trips, and my friends were calling me a pick me. And I was like,
Wow.
no, I'm not a pick me. I want to go to Greece with my then boyfriend. Like Serge pays for everything now, but I'm his wife now. I'm a big giver. We both are givers, me and you. We love giving people things, right? More than receiving. And
Mhm.
I gift a lot of things because I want to. Like I like to buy Serge like a coffee here and there, things like that, but we're married now. So it's like I think rules change
Well,
when you're married. Whereas
I think it's less about the money. It's about what you do, the gifts you do, about the experience. It's like he comes home, like he's tired, and you're like, hey, I made your favorite meal, and the game is on, and this and that. And.
we're really a team and we do everything together and we help each other and we don't have a lot of time together. He's always working. And so when we are together, it's like, oh, okay, we're doing this. There's always like a schedule and a plan. But in those early days, I didn't have to pay for those trips. No one ever asked me to go on the trip. He wouldn't have cared. It's something I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
to this day, he thanks me, even though now he's like making 10x what I'm making and has 10x like saved of what I have saved. Like it's a partnership now, and he still thanks me for those trips,
Yeah.
is what I'm
Totally.
saying. And I don't know how to get this point across because I do think at some point, like we said, the man has to lead. But I think there's a certain level of respect that comes when you're earning some sort of income. And I encourage women who are listening, And you have a strong mom, Ditz. I'm sure your mom told your sister this as well.
I
Like
think,
to
yeah, but
earn
my
money.
mom was the same. Like my mom wasn't making as much as my dad, but she ran the house. My dad like often would travel. He was like your dad. They would travel and just be gone for weeks. And
Yeah.
like, we were
Months.
okay with it. We were kids. We're excited when dad comes home, whatever. But the mom's the one who's running the house, making sure the kids go to school, like feeding us, all these little things. And then, even then when my dad was like unemployed for a year, then my mom worked extra hard that time and he was doing consulting jobs and they kind of made it work for different periods of time. So like even if you have a partnership, it's not always going to be the same. Like someone can lose their job and then for a year that guy has no income, right? Then the other person or partner has to step it up, right?
Right. And what would you want for your daughter? You'd want her to be independent and make money.
Oh yeah, of course. But also I would want her to strive for an equal partnership, to be kind to the person she's dating, not take things for granted or like a birthright. Like a lot of people we know, they just expect things to happen. They expect men to do everything. And it's like there's a lot of competition out there. Like the other thing is like there's so many women out there who are kind and that's more important than looks, to be honest, right? Like I don't want a 10 out of 10 who is like mean and who doesn't, who expects me to do everything, planning, blah, blah, blah.
I think we're gonna get canceled anyway because that was kind of muddled and icky, but what can
Why? Why is it? I mean, like, I don't know what we said that was wrong. I think like it goes both ways, right?
I think the idea that because we've said this before, I've said it before, like I am a successful person on my own, and maybe I was raised to the extreme where I was really raised to be independent. I really don't need anyone unless your health
Mhm.
is failing, but like I can function fine on my
Yeah.
own. And I've said this before, meeting my husband was a bonus. At that point in my life, I realized, you know what? I want to spend my life with someone and, you know, for as long as it works and you don't know what life will throw at you, like it's good, but it was a choice to be with someone and have someone in my life. But I also didn't want to be with someone where I had to pay for everything because then what's the point? Because as a woman, if you're already doing everything on your own, then what's the point of a man? Is that
Yeah.
of mentality, right?
I
But
mean, I
I
think it's
think
all about partnerships and the two of you growing together and all that good stuff too.
but I think the conversation's lost in that there are women now just demanding everything without
Yeah.
without contributing or having anything to offer.
Like I feel like with this particular person and some others, I just didn't feel appreciated. I didn't feel seen. I just like didn't feel I felt like I was doing everything and I was just like being taken for a ride. And again, it's not about money. It's also just about like the example you gave with the email. Like it takes $0 to respond to an email with a nice note, right? Like, I went to Paris and brought this girl back the perfume she wears, right? That's not a money thing for me. That's like a thought thing, right? And like I just feel like I didn't get that same level of thought back. But that was in the summer, feels like ages ago. And again, I took another calculated 2 month break after that. And then, funny enough, I went on a bunch of dates. I was on a first date with this really, really nice girl. And I was at the bar, like, kissed her a little bit. I look over her shoulder and I see Blondie, the girl I dated a couple years ago, who tried to ghost me, wrote me a ChatGPT, breakup texts.
This is for those who don't recall, this is the girl that broke up with Aditya using ChatGPT.
Yeah. And this is before like the Chat GPT analyzer. I was just like, okay. Like it was like very similar structure. Anyways, I saw her and I was with this girl. I was like, hey, the girl I was with, I was like, I gotta go talk to that girl. We went to school together. I just want to catch up and say hi. And she's like, no problem. I go over to her. I was like, hey, it's been a while. Hope you've been well. And, she's like, oh, you look like you're having fun. I was like, you know me, I always go on dates. Go back to my date, drop her home. And then I go back to the bar. It's a little tipsy. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. And I go up to her and I say, we should catch up properly. Let me buy you and your friends a round of drinks.
They're hearing you before, but then you're also the guy that's going to buy a girl and all her friends drinks. So it's like,
A girl who literally breadcrumbed me for weeks, who I was like classmates with her. dated, we hung out with my sister, whatever. Ghosted me, breadcrumb me, whatever. ChatGPT texted me, and I still went back to her and bought her and her friends a round of drinks, which in New York City, it's like over $100, by the way. It's not cheap. And one by one, her friends kept coming up to me like, "Oh my God, you're so nice. Like, I think our friend's into you." And I was like, "Your friend was into me like a year and a half ago, and then she just didn't want to see me anymore." And it's all good. Like, I'm down for friends, friendship. I'd love to meet new people. I'm a social guy. And then like literally, she comes over to me and starts kissing me. I'm like, "Oh boy, here we go." So that was like the comeback of all comebacks. That right, I told you I was like, "Guys, you'll never
Boomerang.
guess." Yeah, it was a boomerang. She was like, "I'm really sorry about the way things went down." And I was like, "Yeah, it's okay. I knew you were going through some personal stuff. I would have been there for you. I would have been there for you as a boyfriend, lover, even a friend. Like if you just said I needed a friend, I would have been there." And I was like, "I'm sorry you couldn't trust me enough to just like be there and have your back for you when you were going through some personal stuff." So we're on good terms now, she's doing other stuff herself, but I'm glad I had that moment. And that really kickstarted my dating weirdly, because I was like, this is like a sign from the universe that I'm like ready to start dating again because I got my closure. And the girl that I went out with earlier that night, the one I dropped home, we went out a few more times, didn't really feel the, physical chemistry, whatever, but she was a lovely person. And then there was another girl that came along who's Indian who hits none of the things on my checkbox, like my checkbox list, whatever. And we've been hanging out for almost 3 months. So my original checkbox thing would be like, hey, does she party? Not really. Is she a big drinker? Not really. Does she eat meat? No, right? Like I'm a hardcore meat eater. So like all these things I was looking for, she doesn't fall into any of those categories. She's like, she lives in Hoboken. Like, I don't date across state lines. But here's the thing. This is old me. Now I've been going to Hoboken and seeing her. She's coming to New York.
Wow.
So like literally everyone's like, well, you're dating a non-drinker, New Jersey vegetarian. But why do all these things matter? Because she is such a good person, good energy, very, very kind, comes from a very good family, very intelligent. Like she can kind of like match me with like we like read together on dates, things like that. And most importantly, she's very thoughtful. I had a housewarming this week and she literally brought me a really nice basket with three big candles for me to use whenever, and two like what are the couch blankets called? Like throw blankets.
Yeah.
So she probably dropped like $100 and something for no reason, right? Just in housewarming gifts, which most people that came to my housewarming, they brought me like wine and cookies and food and things like that. But she brought me stuff we could use. So I was like very like appreciative, and I don't know, is turned on the right word?
It was like nice and thoughtful and sweet. And
Yeah.
we're not used to that.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you bringing me stuff? Like she brought this like basket. I was like, "Oh, do you have stuff?" She's like, "No, this is for you." I was like, "What?" So that's kind
Come
of
on.
the latest recap, and we're not going to go overboard. We're not going to start saying this
But
is
you know
it,
what?
blah blah.
That's what you deserve. Whether it works or not, that's the energy you deserve.
Yeah, she's very kind and she's like very um thoughtful, right? Those are things that matter, I
And
think.
you're crossing state lines. She's veg. I mean, look at me, Dits. I was like, I'm not gonna date anyone who's not from New York City. And I ended up moving to Arizona. Okay, let's just leave it at that.
Yeah,
So it's like
you had a height filter. Don't forget the height filter.
six 6 foot or nothing. Husband is 5'9" and a half. A
Yeah,
short.
but he's like that's not even a short king. That's like the new age version of a short king. A real short king is like 5'6", 5'7". 5'9" and a half is literally above average. And for an Indian guy, that's tall.
That, oh yeah, for an Indian guy. But yeah. But you're making strides, and I think the new apartment is new energy.
It 100% is. And I think I felt it in the new place. I think like the main reason I got this particular place is there's so much, when you come, you'll see it, so much natural light, open windows, and it really like helps with the energy and the karma and everything. And it just, yeah, like today's Monday. It doesn't feel like Monday. I feel really good about
Oh,
stuff.
good.
Like I woke up very excited this morning.
I love that.
Find someone who you are both contributing together, right? Maybe one of you is doing something financially, but then the other of you need the second person, you're doing something else, right? You can't just have one person doing everything. And I felt that way in the person I dated over the summer, where I felt it was like, okay, fine, I'm fine doing something financially, but I can't also baby this person, plan this, do this without any kind of like, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. I got very little of that, and I was just very turned off by it. And um, even and the contrast to that is someone right now, I pay for the most of the stuff. I don't even think about it because then sometimes I go to her place and I'll be like, hey, let me order some Mediterranean food or whatever. And she'll be like, no, 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 I'm going to order it. And then we fight about that where like I want to order it. She's like, no, you're in my place. So she'll do that. So then because of that escalation, the next time I'll take her out to a really fancy date and be like, because she paid for my $20 chicken shawarma, I'm going to take her out to a really nice dinner next time, right? It's like you're only helping yourself when you do little things like that.
I really feel like maybe that's how men think. I don't know. We've had this discussion many times, but I'm like, you know, call me, pick me, call me whatever. I wanted to go to those places too, and I wanted my husband, boyfriend at the time, to experience that. And maybe because of that, he realized, wow, this person is worth pursuing.
Yeah. And I
Because
think
I'm not just in it for the money, I had money.
of course, I think it makes sense. It makes sense to give people a chance, but then it's also okay to pull the plug when you feel like you're not being appreciated. And right
I,
now, I'm at the point where I'm willing to give things a chance. As long as someone is good to me, it makes me feel good about myself. Those are like the big things, right? Like how do they make you feel?
and before, because I just said I have money, so that's why, but it's like, again, we don't want to make it about money. It's more about being a partner and acts of kindness and just acts of service and doing nice things for this person that you might want to spend, your life with or get married to. And so basically, I've discussed this with all my friends, everyone who is my friend, including my husband, is way more well off than me, has a much higher net worth than
Mhm.
me on my
Right.
own. And I'm counting us individually on our own, not including our parents, right? Like in our friend group, there's a lot of heavy hitters, a lot of high rollers doing a lot of big things on their own. And that's nice to be around. But in that, I asked a lot of you. So are you looking for a girl or a woman that also has money or has this high paying job? And you were like, no, but she has to have an interest. You're doing something, there's something you love to do, and you're active in your day-to-day life. There's a goal. And I want to put that message out there because I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of high value men and high value women alike want to be with someone who's doing nothing.
Yeah, and that's not just monetary, right? As long as you're active and then successful in the field that you're in. And you know what? Even if you do something and you want to like, oh, I'm doing a startup and then you fail, but you worked your ass off for the year, at least you're trying, right? At least you're doing something. You have that experience of what did I accomplish in 2025, right? And then your partner will be like, hey, it didn't work out. Let's try something else together. As opposed to if you're just doing nothing, it's like, what are we doing here? You know?
Well, I also think doing nothing leads to spiraling.
Provide value, value added, right?
Provide value. So, yeah, I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to say regarding this in this episode?
On this topic, I think I covered a lot of my dating stuff. I think the move definitely biggest thing in my life. I can't wait to have you and Serge over.
Can't wait.
Got that big second bedroom now, and got all the natural light. Yeah, you got to come up to New York. We'll have a crazy night with all our friends. You know.
Absolutely. It'll be super fun. And more to come. We might be there soon, sooner than you think.
Oh my God, that sounds very cryptic.
All right. Thanks for joining.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.